Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Hampstead School Board meeting of Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. Before we begin, I'd like to read a statement regarding the state of emergency. As the chair of the Hampstead School Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen to this meeting by dialing the following phone number: 888-475-4499 or 877-853-5257. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom telephonetically. Instructions have also been provided on the district website at hampsteadschools.net. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please email hmstechnology@hampsteadschools.net. Adjourning the meeting, D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Melissa, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Malcolm?
Here, and I'm alone in this house.
Mrs. Parnell?
Here, I am alone in the room. There are other people in the house.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, I am home and other people are in the house. All alone. I'm in the room alone. That's what I meant to say.
Thank you. Mr. Sweeney?
Here.
And Mrs. Yasenka?
Oh, I think Karen's muted.
She's muted.
I did ask her to unmute. There we go.
Okay.
Yes, and
Yasenka?
other members of the family in the household. Which should be fine because it's a public meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Board members, in your packet, you have, I think one set of meeting minutes from our June 9th, 2020 meeting. Please take a moment to review if you have not done so already, and then I'll take a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Melissa, will you
Nope.
please? Do you have a question, Jim?
I was just saying no.
Okay, sorry. Melissa,
Because
will
you
you
can't
please?
see me. So.
I know, I can't see you. I'm trying to look and not talk over people. Melissa, will you please call the vote?
Ms. Malcolm?
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mrs. Yasenka?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. moving on to current business. We're starting off with one of the really fun parts about being on school board is recognizing some of our students from Hampstead. So our first item is our Hampstead School Board Scholarship winners. The Hampstead School Board has been awarding scholarships since 2003, I believe. This year, we have two $1,000 scholarships for that. And just a quick background, this is actually something that is, the recipients are chosen by Pinkerton. They know these students very well, and I think they always pick students who are very deserving, and we're always very proud of them in Hampstead. So this year, the winners of the Hampstead School Board Scholarship Awards are Madison Cresta and John Horan. So I really wish we were doing this in person, and I'm very glad to see that you're both here tonight to join us. You know, usually we get to hear something from you, and you know, if we can hear a little bit about what your plans are for the next year, we'd love to do that. Maddie, if you want to start, that would be great.
Thank you all for having me, even virtually. First, I want to apologize that I was a couple minutes late. I was having trouble finding the link,
That's okay.
but I made it on, so we're all set. As for my future plans, I will be attending Quinnipiac University in Hamden, Connecticut in the fall for health sciences on the pre-physician's assistant track, because my overall goal is to be a pediatric physician's assistant, hopefully work at Boston Children's or a hospital similar caliber. So I will hopefully be pursuing all 6 years, because for 4 years for undergrad, 2 years for master's for PA. So hopefully all 6 years at Quinnipiac.
Well, congratulations. John, can you give us a little bit about what your plans are?
Yes, thank you for having me. For some of my future plans, I'm going to Wentworth Institute of Technology in Boston, and I want to enter a degree for electromechanical engineering, and that's a 5-year program, and hopefully I can get a successful engineering career path that way.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Congratulations to you as well. As I said, it's great when you guys can be at a meeting, and usually we get to bring you up and shake your hand, but this is the next best thing. For everyone else, we are going to be mailing their awards to them. We're very proud of you both, and wish you so many good things in the future. I know that as 2020 seniors, this is not normal, and I know that you guys are going to go on to do great things. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board members have anything to say? I don't want to seem like I'm speaking for everyone. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a great summer. Okay, next up on our current business, we're going to have an update on remote learning from Mr. Flynn and kind of a year in review. I know we've been interested to hear kind of how this remote learning has impacted our students. So, Mr. Flynn, you're up.
Need to unmute myself first, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so my goal here in the next 10 minutes or so is to kind of give everyone an idea of where we were, how far we've come, and perhaps what's in store for us. So if you can believe it or not, it feels like forever ago, but it was only March 13th in which we were officially told that we were going to be moving towards remote learning. And with the goal and plan, it was initially a 2-week plan. It was about 10 days of remote learning. Before that weekend ended, it turned into a 1-month plan. And then about 2 weeks into that, it changed to the remaining of the school year type of plan. If you can imagine any type of other industry on the planet having their business model completely flipped upside down in that time frame, and understanding the difficulties or challenges that faced us, hoping the next couple slides here will show you how well and how proud I am of the staff members at Hampstead and how great they've done. So heading into our remote learning, or what we kept calling it crisis learning to start, several of our keys to success that we established right away was going to be daily communication. And the daily communication between staff member and student, staff member and families. It was important to understand that we were all in this together. From there, we made it sure it was very important to have weekly communication from our administrative teams. And I'll dive into that in a little bit further. And also our key to success was monitoring our attendance and participation. It was important not to let anyone fall through the cracks in any way, shape, or form, and to continue to try our best to learn with our students and our families at home. A few other keys to success that probably don't get a lot of credit, and I think they are well deserved, is the technology team. Talk about their life getting flipped upside down in a matter of days and weeks. They went from in-person remote help to teachers and students to all online phone calls, some personal Zoom sessions with families at home. They created resource pages for families to access. The administrative team made, they did a inventory of other families that needed extra devices than what they had at home. Maybe it wasn't sufficient, or they had multiple kids. So our tech team, got those already, iPads, Chromebooks, whatever is needed to make sure that we got it into their hands at home. And then, as I mentioned before, the remote learning technology assistance. This team spent hours on phones or Zoom calls or things of that nature with families and students to make sure that they could continue their learning. So those are a couple of things that were going on behind the scenes. Specifically at the Central School, their goals was to build relationships with families. I have a fourth grader, a second grader, and a pre-K. My wife's a nurse, so if it wasn't for those people at the school to help parents at home with the situation, whatever may be going on, it became certainly challenging for families at home. And the administrative team and the teachers did a phenomenal job of making sure that no one felt like they were in it alone, that it was immediate feedback and or communication when needed. Then you started to see the weekly videos from Mr. Collins and Dr. Cheney. There was weekly readings from staff members for students. And certainly the most important part was supporting the parents and guardians at home, because I relearned fourth grade math and second grade parallelograms. So there was a lot of learning going on both sides of the fence. The other important part was the student progress, and it goes back to our initial key of not letting anyone fall behind. So we were able to monitor student progress through Seesaw, and then I'm so proud of the building. Like I said, talk about switching on a dime. Grades 1, 2, and 3, and 4 all picked up Google Classroom. It was in the system, but probably not used as regularly as it became. And then really even more proud of our students who learned to communicate and advocate for themselves via email or whatever was needed. So some skills that probably were unintended came out of this, and we'll see some growth, I'm sure, in the future. And then obviously we wanted to make sure that everyone felt like it wasn't a waste, so to speak, and that the end of the year was important for everybody. There were several year-end activities. We tried to keep with the traditions, even though they may have been virtually. And then we made sure it was very important that our grade 4 transitions, all those things still occurred, whether it be virtually or individually with the counselors, the administration, the teachers. And then finally, I'm really proud of the Hampstead Central School. And this, it came from the teachers, if you want to know the truth, advocating for personalized report cards so that the families knew where students were, and it was more individualized rather than a broad stroke type of thing. Try not to pay attention to the data. I just felt like it was the easiest place to put it right now, but we'll get back to that in a second. At the middle school level, you clearly have some older kids, and it was still important to build those relationships, but some of those relationships were more student-based rather than family-based. You saw the weekly videos and that came from administration with Miss Joseph and Miss Denola, the dance videos that went around the whole district. It's amazing how many people bought into trying to make sure that everyone felt comfortable and that we were all in it together. Another great part about the middle school is team communication. Having that team-based model is so important. If a student's struggling in math, but excelling in science, the teachers were meeting to communicate like, hey, why is Mike Flynn doing work here but not there? There was a lot of team communication to help support these students at home. And then the same that goes, parents checking in, is everyone on top of things, making sure that no one was falling behind. I saw some great data charts to make sure that everyone was aware of who was doing what, when, and where. At the middle school level, the student progress, we were able to monitor it through several things. Google Classroom, I'm not sure, well, I'm sure many parents became more familiar with it, but submissions go right to inboxes, email communication. I put raising the bar there because a lot of the feedback I got was, we got to develop or see what different type of learners students are now. And some students did excel at the, the remote learning model, but it also raised the bar for our teachers to challenge our students. The amount of time and effort they put into redesigning lesson plans, trying to find new ways to reach their students. It's quite amazing to talk about. The PowerSchool data, more specifically, I think it was about a month ago that I came and talked about the trends, and we did Q1 to Q2 and Q3. So running the data here, you see the, just like last time, I didn't do A-, A+, all that. I just put them all into the same category. And you'll see that the trend stayed the same. Now, I know everyone's eyes go to the F, but speaking of someone who's been working in a middle school for, over 12 years, and more specifically in 8th grade for 4 years as an assistant principal, I think 8th grade itis is probably worse than senioritis. So I would not be surprised to see that that data of the increasing of about 23 there, more specifically to some students that might be uninterested or moving on or already high school students in their brain. So you can see the other trend marks pretty much stayed the same. And we're going to dive down in the summer here to really analyze what we need to do better or where we need to strengthen, and making sure that those kids are continuing on this trend. Outstanding grades throughout the year. I think another part to focus on or reiterate is the wellness checks. When students weren't participating or we weren't getting communication from families, Officer Conway did an outstanding job of still doing wellness checks where we'd be able to forge that. He'd talk with them, meet with them, communicate with us, and we put a plan together to make sure that the students were continuing with their learning. Great teamwork. Finishing out the year at the middle school, the year-end activities, again, I think there was a dance party for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, as well as other things that went on on the team-based. And then certainly celebrating our 8th graders at the end of the year was important. For Karen Gallagher to be retiring this year, I couldn't think of a harder time to retire in special education. The amount of time that her and Francine Flynn had to spend reworking IEPs, making sure that they're supporting special ed students and achieving the goals. Through the governor's order, services were also extended 2 weeks past our May deadline, and as well as they had to have individual meetings with all students' families in regards to the extended school year. So if you could fathom maybe 2 to 3, perhaps 4 meetings a day with families and rewriting and redeveloping IEP plans, as well as the teachers that were a part of those meetings and supporting these students to make sure that we're rewriting goals that are achievable. Outstanding job by special education. I think it's important to note that if and when we do return to school, that all IEPs will be revisited within the first 30 days to make sure that students are still meeting the goals that are set, and that the support is in place for them. Last, this is the geek in me. Through remote learning, we really had to dive down and start accessing new things. And through that, and through the work of the teachers, which I'll go into the data governance after this, but it's amazing the tools that they found to help support our students and families. And you know, I'm not going to go down and read the list. I'm sure some of the families have used these and some haven't. But a lot of these, through the CARES Act and working with Mr. Dowd, we're going to be able to continue using these. Writable is going to be big at the middle school. Mystery Science is helping support at the central school. Lexi has a reading program that we're going to be using at the central school. Sora is the, I guess the easiest way to say it is the library sharing program digitally. So we're able to get more reading for our students and able easily to access them. So that is those are the quick hits. It's amazing how far we've come in such a short period of time. I keep telling everyone that we talk to, you know, they're already working towards next year, and we just finished last week as adults. The professionalism in this district is through the roof. What they want to do for students and families is amazing. I've tried to tell people to take off 2 or 3 days and just stop thinking, but you know, it continues to go. And the other thing that I'd like to say is, you know, each board meeting that we've had, every time we've had a meeting, you guys have always said thank you to us. And I can't tell you how much that means. It's a pretty big deal to hear the support from the school board and know that you are, you know, the challenges that we're facing, and we're doing our best. And I think we did pretty well. And I think we can only get better for sure. So I'm going to end the show and open it up for any questions.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Anybody have questions or comments here? I can see Megan, and I know she raised her hand, so go, Megan.
Yes, I have a comment. I just wanted to share my appreciation for the decision to prepare the personalized report cards this year. You know, if you think about your standard report card, you know, it's where does your child fall on a scale? And there is room for additional commentary. It's more personalized, but I think it was really meaningful to me this year because, you know, I think we were all feeling a little bit vulnerable with everything going on, but the elementary students, you know, I think they still don't really quite understand what's going on. And, you know, I think the parents weren't really didn't really feel comfortable knowing or understanding how their children were really feeling and even progressing in school. There was a lot of concern over, oh, is my child going to fall behind? So I think it was just very comforting to see the effort that the teachers put into providing the personalized commentary for each student. That's it.
Yeah, I certainly would have to agree. I don't have a central school student, but Megan, all the feedback that I've heard would definitely match up with what you just said, that people really appreciated it. And definitely thank you to our teachers and administrators at Central School, because that was a lot. It's extensive, and I think I just wanted to say, you know, something that you mentioned, Mike, that I think we were remiss in not calling out our tech team and how much work this has been and how instrumental they have been in making this work, because without them, none of this works. None of it works. So I just specifically want to say thank you to the tech team for all of your work, for all of the time you went into this, and probably multitudes of emails from parents saying, I don't know how to get this to work.
Yeah.
So, because I know that I had no idea half the time how to get things to work. So thank you very much to them. Thank you again to all of our teachers and all of our administrators, and all of our staff and all of our support staff. I just want to say that. Does anybody else have questions or comments? I don't want to.
Caitlin, if I could.
Yeah, Dr. Metzler, go ahead.
You know, well said. You know, it's really, really a Hampstead thing. You know, so, you know, thank you to all the families, obviously, and our staff, and certainly the leadership and Mike Flynn. They just, tech team, they, you know, echo what you said. They just did a great job. I didn't know if this was an appropriate place to start the conversation about several things. One, Pinkerton Academy had asked the sending towns to send out a survey. We didn't kick and punch that survey. We sent it because it's data that they were looking at from their sending towns. So we sent that out. And so we appreciate the families that, that took the time to fill it out, and that'll help Pinkerton with their sending towns. We also understand that everyone has opinions about what surveys should look like, and we're sensitive to that. Mr. Flynn and I have talked in great detail about how we want to solicit some feedback from folks and to put together our task force. Now, you know, we need a task force for the reopening of schools if we reopen, what that may look like. Earlier today, you heard the task force, I think, from the commissioner's office talk a lot about embracing a hybrid model, which everyone knows a hybrid will be a little bit of both. We've had several conversations, you know, informally about Hampstead and looking at school choice, about choices. But, you know, the one choice that it's going to have to be about safety, right? So that's what that task force will once we get those guidelines or recommendations, I don't think they'll be prescriptive. I think we'll have a lot of hard decisions to make, but whatever we're going to do is going to be, you know, we're going to start with safety and we're going to build from there. So, you know, if we can build some sort of hybrid model through our own reopening task force, it will look, it'll look and feel like what Hampstead wants. We're not copying anybody else. It's not a prescriptive model. It's just a lot of work, and that we're really not going to get those recommendations until after the 4th of July, I don't believe. So, you know, that work will be towards the middle of end of July. I'm thanking families for being patient. You know, I'm getting emails, you know, a few a day, a few an hour, if you will, trying to get back to folks that the school board will be very much involved in the Hampstead. We'll be reporting to the school board through our task force. It could be some sort of choice model. It could be something, but it's going to focus on safety. So I hope that helps people with kind of where we are and where we're going. I know we already have 40 or 50 people that want to be on the task force, but we need to keep it manageable. So we're going to try to solicit input, feedback from everyone, whether we can have you on the task force or not. Try to make sure that we, you know, have as many groups represented, certainly, obviously, teachers and paras and administrators and people from the community, and then we'll report to the school board. I don't necessarily, I mean, school board members could be on the task force, but we would be reporting out to you with our recommendations about what we think things would look like. So if you had any other questions for myself or Mr. Flynn, be happy to answer. I hope that gives people at least a look back to what remote learning looked like and kind of a preview of the work, because we don't really know what the fall is going to look like just yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Metzler. Does anyone else have comments or questions on the update or anything that Dr. Metzler just mentioned? Okay. I'm not going to repeat everything that Dr. Metzler said, but I do want to acknowledge that we all know that everybody wants to know what school looks like in the fall. You know, I think schools in particular generally plan very far ahead and really know what the plan is going to be. And nobody likes the fact that we really don't know yet. But I think everyone here is being honest with the public and saying we are doing our best with what we have. There's information we still need from the state. And, you know, I know the district will get that information out as soon as we know. And it may not be what everybody wants, but I agree with Dr. Metzler that science and safety and health need to lead the way on these decisions. And there are lots of health pieces to consider here. There's physical health and there's mental and health and social emotional. So all things that need to be considered. So we'll get there. I have full faith in our team of administrators and teachers that they are going to do what is best for our kids. And that is the biggest piece. So. Okay, if nobody else has any questions or comments, We're going to move on to the data governance plan reaffirmation. Also, Mr. Flynn. Also, very interesting reading.
Yeah, I bet you guys all spent all night reading it.
That's a lot.
All right. So what I'll do then, yeah. So it's funny because one of my first things on the job last year was this. You know, we're coming up on a year here for me, and was diving into that. So how I needed to present it to the staff is kind of how I'll speak about it tonight. It's in place to protect everybody, and the goal is protecting students, staff, anyone that's who's in our building using our servers, using any type of stuff that we use. It's the easiest way to say it. And another compliment to Joe and Mike and Don is how serious it was taken. And I think the districts that are struggling around the state are the ones that didn't take it seriously. So right from the bat, with our opening day meetings, I said, all right, anyone that wants to use anything has to come through our office first. So anything that students or teachers wanted to use had to come through us, and our team met every Monday and reviewed 15, 20 different websites. Again, it's at the end of the day, it's protecting everyone's information, data, all that type of stuff. So even though it's a thick pack that you may have read, the bottom line is protection, and our district has done a phenomenal job. We are working in partnership with, I want to say SPD, 4 letters, I'm messing it up, but same thing. So all the districts now are in a consortium essentially. And when we start using Zoom and we get approved, a letter of agreement goes out, you know, with legal team, and they all get on the same lines about sharing data. So it's a pretty big group. Joe Dion attends those meetings every month. And we're really on top of everything that's going on around the state of New Hampshire. And not only that, just nationally as well. So looking for a reaffirmation to that plan. If anything were to change, I would obviously bring it to the board. In there is about password protections, websites, all that type of stuff. So I can answer any questions if you like. Basically, I'm looking for the board to support the plan again for the next school year, 2020-2021.
Let's do a motion, then we can talk if anybody has questions. I'd say that's, so can I have a motion to approve reaffirmation of the plan?
Sounds right to me.
Does that sound right?
Right,
Of the
Melissa?
data governance plan?
Reaffirm.
Reaffirm. Okay, motion for the board to reaffirm the data governance plan, which was previously adopted in May of 2019. Melissa, does that sound good before we go any further? Okay. All right. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
And I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Melissa, will you please call the roll? Vote, whatever.
Sure. Does the board want any discussion before?
Oh,
we-
sorry. Losing my mind on these Zoom calls. Any discussion or questions for Mr. Flynn about the data governance plan? All right, seeing none. Wait, David, did you say something?
No, I'm good.
Okay, seeing none. Melissa, will you please call the roll?
Yeah. Ms. Malcolm,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mrs. Yasenka.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries to reaffirm.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you, Mike. All right, next up, Mr. Smith, do you want to talk about a brief construction committee update regarding Central School?
Sure. Just take a couple minutes. So Megan and I have met a few times just to talk about kind of the general direction and what do we want to do and kind of a plan of attack. Pretty early in the phase of that, but we know that the first thing what we want to do is work with our esteemed board members and with Dr. Messler just to talk about the history. As we know, the last 6-7 years has not gone in the favor of the students to do the renovations. So we want to learn and discuss what a possible path forward could be. And then, of course, over the summer, we will look to, build a committee of sorts, and then really hit the road running in the early fall with whatever that plan is as we learn more about what's going on with the fallout of COVID-19 and just what we need for our students to make them successful. So, I really appreciate Megan. She's bringing some great energy to this, and so we're going to tap into the energy and try to do something a little bit different this year as far as get more votes. We don't know what the plan will look like, but we want to definitely get over that 60%. So that's the goal.
Okay, thank you, and we'll be working to set up a work session.
Yeah, that's the only thing is we are looking to do a work session next Tuesday if possible.
Okay, let's confirm. I think we've had some emails on this, but is everybody good for next Tuesday? So that would be the 30th. Say we could do a 6 or a 7. I don't know if anyone has preference.
I'm good with either, whatever's best for everybody.
Sorry, David, I missed that. What was that?
I'm good with 6 or 7, whatever's best for everybody.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would, 7 o'clock.
It's fine with me. Okay, we'll say 7 o'clock. Dr. Metzler, I will reach out to you and Melissa about, just setting up a work session.
Perfect. Yeah, no.
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, next up, we have an update on the SAU 55 reorganization planning. So, the update I would like to give is we have been working hard through mediation to come up with a separation agreement between Hampstead and Timberlane. We've worked through a lot of things. We have an agreement that we believe does work. And the board's been fully updated on what the agreement looks like. It does resolve several things we believe need to be addressed. And unless anyone has an objection, I am going to ask for a motion. I will speak to this a little bit more after the motion, but I want to get this part confirmed. So what I would like to ask for is a motion that the board vote to approve the proposed mediated agreement with Timberlane as set forth in document 003B, pending the error in date in paragraph 2A be revised to July 1, 2021, in order to resolve liabilities arising from SAU withdrawal and to assist both districts in transitioning to single district SAU services in an orderly fashion, and further to authorize the Hampstead chair to sign the agreement upon approval of the same by the Timberlane Regional School District Board. So that would be the motion. Melissa, I will send you that.
Thank you.
So that is the motion, if someone would like to make it.
I'll motion this, David.
Okay, thank you,
To
David.
accept.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
I believe that was Karen. Before we vote, if anyone has any comments or questions, I will say this is, as the motion references, this is pending the approval of the Timberlane board as well. I do want to clarify before we vote, this is not for board members, but for the public. This agreement has nothing to do with what the structure of Hampstead's single district SAU looks like. I know there's been some confusion and accusations put out. This only applies to the agreement about the withdrawal. This does not have anything to do with what Hampstead's single district SAU looks like going forward. No one decides that except Hampstead. So I just want to clarify for anyone who had questions. So that said, if there are no other comments or questions from board members, Melissa, if you could please call the roll vote.
Ms. Malcolm?
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? I didn't hear a response from Mr. Smith.
Muted.
No, his other
one isn't. He's good.
Sorry, I just lost my Wi-Fi for a second there. So if you said my name, then I'm saying yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mrs. Yusenka?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. Also under this topic, now that we've passed mediation, or we've voted on that, I do want to talk more about our planning of what our structure looks like as a single district SAU. I've mentioned this in a couple other meetings about how we are moving forward. And I would like to suggest that the board hold a public forum of some sort. I'd like to have a discussion now about what people think is feasible for that. Because I do believe we need to give our town a chance to offer feedback, ask questions. I think that's important. Again, this is talking about the structure. So basically how many employees we're looking at, what functions those employees are going to serve, where we would be looking to house our new SAU offices. That's really what this discussion would be about, and what this, I'll call it a forum. We got to figure out how to do this. But I can say what I am thinking, because we are slightly restricted here about having a big meeting at middle school, which is what we might normally do. I think that I would be looking, or maybe my suggestion would be, we hold an informational Zoom meeting where we can present what we're looking at, the plan that we're considering. And then we can give people time, whether that, schedule it for one night, give people 2 or 3 days to email in questions and comments, I'm thinking, and then hold a follow-up session after that few days is up, where we can read all the comments, where we can present the questions and give answers. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to do this in a way that is feasible for us, is feasible for our technology team, because it is hard to just open up the lines to a bunch of people, just because it becomes everyone talking at once. So I don't know. What do other board members think about this idea? And additionally, I would anticipate wanting to try to do this soon-ish, not months down the line. We really want to have something decided on and in place by September for budgeting season. So Megan, I'm sorry, I saw your hand go up. So
I think that's a great idea, to be able to present our information, let the community digest it, and then come back with their questions. I like that idea.
Okay. Anybody else? I mean, I'm putting the idea forward, but if somebody else has a different proposal, I'm absolutely happy to talk about it. That was my thought process.
Well, we may not be able to or want to address every question, right?
I think I can understand that, but at the same time, I would anticipate we read the question and then we say we can't address it, because it wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't want to censor questions so much. I mean, I'll be honest, if somebody's going to write in something defamatory about someone else or derogatory towards an employee or anything like that, I would agree. I don't think that's fair to read. So there may be, we need to look into how we can do that. But I get your point. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Caitlin, I think, you
Yeah.
know, I've said this before, I'm not in favor of a Q&A with the public. I think the board works on this. We put forward a plan for information only so that people in town are aware of what's happening, what's coming up in the upcoming year. But I'll be on the record as saying I'm not in favor of having a public forum where people get to ask a lot of questions. I believe it's our decision. I just think it's our job as a board. That's why we were elected, to make these decisions. And I think we make those decisions and then present the plan. But I don't think we ask for a lot of input while making those decisions. Thank you.
Okay. David, I don't know if you have anything you want. Everyone else has spoken, so
No, I mean, Zoom's fine. I'm just wondering if the state is reopening, is there potential of doing something live or not? You know, as of, you know, I think just about any day now, almost everything's open. Do we give that option as well?
I mean, I think what's difficult about that is everything else in the state is opening, but as of right now, schools aren't. And we would probably have to hold something in a school, which, I mean, presents to me some logistical issues, because I personally believe you should, this is my personal opinion, I guess, that people should still be distancing. I don't know. I mean, the other benefit of doing it the way, kind of giving people some time to think about questions and stuff. But I mean, you're right. I understand that things are opening. I think it's debatable, depending on who it is, if they think that's okay or not. And actually, thinking in that direction, we'd probably have to do it both ways, because there may be people who want it to give input who are not comfortable in person.
Yep.
So
makes sense.
I don't know. I don't know what the best option is. I get it. I mean, personally, I'd love to be sitting at a table talking to people instead of my computer screen. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly
right. And if
something.
we're to do something outside, you know, I know it's weather dependent, but that brings its own, you know, issues as well. So.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it would also be like, where would we do that outside?
I don't think we should do this at all. I don't think we should do any type of meeting in person at this time. It's too early. It's way too early. We shouldn't even be talking about it.
Okay. Well, I mean, figuring out here
for
everybody.
Yeah. And I would believe, even to go as far as to say it's not your opinion that people should be social distancing, and I think that's just a fact.
True. I would say, I mean, I guess we can put this to a vote, or 2 votes, or I don't even know if we can just make sense to do it by consensus. I mean, personally, I would vote in favor of an online option. I think there are a lot of logistical things to do it outside. Not the least of which is the weather. I mean, if we schedule it and it's raining, that means we got to reschedule it. I don't know. That's me. Okay, so like procedurally, I'm gonna defer to Dr. Metzler or Melissa. Do we need to take a vote to do something? Or can we just...
No, you don't necessarily need a vote. It's something that during our planning sessions, we could figure out and try to pull together whatever we think is best. there are a lot of things to consider in person, taking people's temperatures, asking lots of questions, having all kinds of, there's just a lot of moving parts to something in person right now, especially with the message of if it was outside, I get that, but the schools aren't open, cleaning, providing masks. There's just a lot. And I think the online version of whatever you're trying to pull off here with a webinar seems to give the greatest amount of access to anybody interested. You know, they could even be traveling and still check back in. They don't necessarily have to be in Hampstead. So it's something we can talk about and put together in some sort of one of our planning sessions, if that works okay.
Okay, so we already have like a work session planned for next week. Is everyone comfortable with talking about it then as well and getting some dates like finalized?
Yep.
Is that okay? I mean, I realize we're putting it off another week to make a date decision, but I think we need some.
That works.
Okay. Okay, so let's put that on the agenda then for our work session as well. We'll hammer out details for this and get dates out, and then we can start posting dates for a public forum, informational session, Q&A, something. Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. All right, we're on to board comments and correspondence. I'm gonna go do my nice, whoever I see first, which is Megan.
No, I don't think I have anything.
We have to pick which David name I see first. I'll go with David.
Thanks. No, just as we've said and continue to say, amazing job this year and closing out the year strong. I appreciate, I know everybody in the community appreciates, everybody from the technology team to the bus drivers that were there, just the teachers, the admins, SAU. I think everybody came together. It was a strong showing of the community.
Absolutely. Karen.
I just want to thank you and David Smith for all the hard work and hours that you've put in with Dean, the withdrawal process and the mediation. I know it takes a lot of time, a lot of thought went into it. And so I just want to publicly thank both of you for stepping up and doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, any comments or correspondence?
I'm sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
I think for the first time, maybe I don't have anything to say.
Okay.
But I will reserve that for some other time.
Okay. For me, I don't really have much. I did receive an email, a couple of emails from parents with comments and input regarding school opening or not opening. So I think I kind of addressed that earlier. We're working on it, and we're absolutely going to take into consideration lots of different options and lots of different concerns. I think that's it for me. So on to consent agenda, Dr. Metzler.
Great, thanks, Caitlin. As we've indicated the last few meetings, you know, our staffing, so we don't have a personnel report. We're in great shape for any vacancies that we had. You know, and I've mentioned, you know, several administrators that just did a great job just recruiting. You know, we don't get a lot of turnover in Hampstead because this is a place that people want to work. Outstanding. So we're in great shape as far as staffing. So there's no personnel report. Moving on to the superintendent's report. The support staff letters of agreement are out. Letters of agreement for support staff went out electronically on June 15th. Principals, directors, and union reps were notified immediately after the agreements were sent. Any staff member who was expecting a letter and did not receive one at their Hampstead School's email address should contact Human Resources right away. By June 17th, 2 days later, the letters went out and 83% of the staff had already electronically signed and returned their agreement. We're asking for returning staff, if you're on or listening, to complete the signing process no later than June 30th. So excellent job by staff at the SAU and certainly the staffs in both of our schools to get that. Food service agreement in your packets, this came in late, is a food service agreement with Cafe Services, and that's for the 2021 school year. I want you to be able to familiarize yourself with the contract. To review our usual process, we send out an RFP, one-year deal with 4 one-year extensions. This allows us to include any USDA required revisions into the contract and things like that. We're in the last year of that contract with Cafe Services, which means we'd be looking at a new RFP in the fall. And finally, I've mentioned this many times, and it's just hard to believe the last meeting, Karen Gallagher is retiring. She joined Hampstead in the summer of 2006 as the Assistant Director of Special Education. A year later, she took on the role that she now has as the Director of Special Education. District has been more than fortunate to have this first-rate professional. The work she does for our students to find us what best suit each individual's path and learning is just outstanding. Coupled with state findings, 100% compliancy with her department reporting year after year. It's just incredible. And the governor threw her that last curveball, and she knocked that one out of the park too, where all of our families are in great shape, and our services are all solid whenever and however we can open up. So again, I know we celebrated her several times. I just want to thank her one more time. She's incredible. We've been blessed, and we wish her well. So that's all I have, Caitlin.
Thank you. Before I ask for a motion to accept the consent agenda, I do want to echo what Dr. Metzler said. Mrs. Gallagher is not anybody who's going to be able to be easily replaced. She puts every ounce of heart and soul and brain power into our students, and I don't think thank you is ever going to be enough. This is another one of those times that I really wish we were in public to thank her, well, in person to thank her. But I don't think that's ever going to be enough for what she's done for our district and for our kids in the special education program. I know that a lot of people, if they're not involved with special education, maybe don't see, these reports that the board sees, which may seem kind of boring, but at the same time, we get all of these things from the state that we are 100% in compliance all the time for special education. And I think that's a huge testament to what Mrs. Gallagher has done. So from all of us, thank you, thank you, thank you, and you will be incredibly missed. On that note, can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Melissa, will you call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Malcolm?
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
And Mrs. Yusenka?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so unless anyone has any other or old business, jump in now. Okay, if not, I am actually, and I apologize for the last minute on this, I am going to ask for a non-public. It would be going in under RSA 91A:3, paragraph 2, L for under legal. Can I have a motion to go into non-public?
Motion to go to non-public.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Melissa, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Malcolm?
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mrs. Yusenka?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. It is 8:12 p.m.
Thank you.
Caitlin, do you want to leave this up in case, are you going to come out and make any announcements, or if you're going to adjourn from the non-public, it may make sense now so that people aren't sitting here waiting for you to
Yeah,
return.
we're not making any decisions. We will not be holding any votes, so I guess we can adjourn
Yep.
from there.
Yes,
We'll
That's
adjourn
better.
from the non-public. Okay.
that works. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.